So before we begin, let's make one thing clear. There are as many pressure flips as there are ollie tricks. You can do a pressure flip basically in any direction. The term itself refers to one thing: doing the pop and the flip at the same time with the same foot. But with that bearing in mind, the inward heel flip style rotation is basically the textbook standard pressure flip. So that's what we're going to do here today. So even though this is the basic pressure flip, there are two very different ways of doing it. And if you were skating in the 90s or early 2000s, there's a good chance you learned it, or at least saw it done, in this stance. Both feet pointing pretty much forwards. Now, this is the worst way to do a pressure flip. I know why people do this. It's much easier to get the front foot out of the way. But because of this starting position, the board doesn't rotate properly. It goes more end over end, and it has a tendency to bounce off the floor. So the bad reputation the pressure flip has largely comes from this stance. Now, if you've watched a trick tip teaching pressure flips this way, please disregard it. I'm going to try teaching you a totally different technique from a totally different stance that takes this from being an ugly trick best left in the 90s to something that, I think at least, is a lot more stylish and worth doing today, whether you're doing freestyle or street. So our stance for this trick now is going to be pretty much straight across the board, completely perpendicular to it. Have your front foot covering the rear bolts on the front truck, and the back foot wants to be up on the ball of the foot in the pocket, at the end of the concave if you have a street deck, or just where the tail ends if you're on a flat freestyle board. This back foot placement is the most crucial part to get right. You want to be just on the ball of the foot. Raise everything else up as high as you can. The idea is that your back foot is just making contact with this circle, right in that pocket, and as close to the toe side edge as possible. If you're flat-footed at all, or if you're too far back, this isn't going to work, and you need to be right there, right on the toe side edge. The basic mechanics of this trick are actually really simple. There's not a lot to it. The biggest difficulty is that you're going to have to reprogram your feet, because this is probably going to be unlike most tricks you've done up to this point. Your back foot, nestled in this pocket, is going to drive that point of the board down and back. I always think of it as trying to get this point of the deck to hit this edge of this back wheel. That's how much you've got to really kick it backwards like that. And the problem is that if you've done any ollie tricks before this front foot is going to get in the way. You have to lift this one completely upwards, straight up, as soon as you jump. If this touches the deck at all, you are not going to be able to get this flip. And I see that with every street skater I try teaching this to. The foot will be sliding out the side, or even straight up as if they're trying to ollie. Don't do that. Think of it more like a pop shove it. You know, it's literally got to go straight up. But the difference is, because this toe is right at this edge, you're really going to push down and through the board to drive this point down and back. Now, you'll notice, if you see someone who does a lot of pressure flips, and I'm looking at you, Nate Sherwood, you'll see they get razor tail down this side of the tail. Not across the back, but here. That is the classic sign of a pressure flipper, because that point is what's going to slide across the floor and bounce the board into the air. All the pop is going to come from there. And when you're in position and you know what your feet have to do, you've then got to bear in mind your weight distribution. I'm starting this trick with basically all of my weight on this leg, completely. I mean, this one here, not even relevant at this point. I'm going to jump off my front leg straight upwards, and as I do that, I'm going to transfer all my weight to the back leg to drive that leg down as hard as possible, really pushing that pocket of the board down and back with as much force as I can muster. As I do that, as I said, this leg has to come straight up. Make sure it doesn't flick out. You have to just lift it, suck that knee straight up to the chest. The difficult bit is that this isn't something you can practice stationary. You can't sit in your garage, you can't sit in the backyard just popping these out. It's not like learning to ollie. You have to roll. Doing it stationary makes the motion much more difficult than it really needs to be. It's just not worth it. Normally, I'd do these with a bit of pace, but because I've got to fit this within the frame, I've got to go slower than I'd like. which means I have to work a lot harder than I'd like with the back foot. I have to really dig it in. But even at this speed, this front foot has to explode upwards. It has to come straight up, straight away. If I hesitate at all with this front foot, it's going to get in the way and it's going to stop the trick in midair. Now you'll also notice I lost a lot of speed on the landing. I was slightly short on the rotation because I didn't have the speed to translate into that spin, but I still stopped quite a lot. That's because of the friction from dragging that point of the tail backwards. That's why it really helps to go at these as fast as you really dare. Hopefully the next problem should be obvious. Because of the fact this all happens with the back foot, you need complete and total control over what that back foot is doing. There is very little margin for error. If anything is going wrong with a trick, you have to look at what that back foot is doing and change it just subtly to tweak out any problems. So, if you're not getting enough flip, if the board is falling upside down all the time, then there's a good chance that either A, your back foot is too flat, so it's getting in the way, it's not letting it flip over, or B, you're not pushing in hard enough. The fix for those is quite simple. Angle it up more, get the heel way up, and then really hammer that foot downwards as hard as it can. That's where all of the flip is going to come from. The second problem is rotation. If you're coming up short, if you're always landing just shy of a perfect 180 degree, you're not pulling that back foot backwards enough. If you've done 360 flips, you should know what that feels like. You've still got to do it from this very raised heel position, but just hammer that back foot round behind you as hard as you can, and you'll get a lot more spin on it. The front foot had absolutely no involvement in that. That is just the back foot giving as much welly, as much force as it can. And obviously, the opposite is true. If you're over-rotating, just dial it back a bit. There is a lot of trial and error here until you find exactly the right foot motion to make this work. Despite what people say about pressure flips, if you get that back foot technique just right, this will actually go airborne by quite a way. It should bounce up quite high into the air. So unlike some of the trick tips on this channel, this one you are going to have to catch. You are going to have to keep an eye out for the grip tape, extend both legs, catch it and push it down. You can't let this one just bounce around underneath you. You have to catch it cleanly or you are just going to fall over. The catch is that you'll tend to do that. Because of the fact you've lifted your front foot straight up, there is a tendency to come down just on the back leg. As a result, you'll either push the board away like that, or you'll land to tail. Make sure you remember to extend both legs back down and catch this evenly. When I was obsessed with these in the early 2000s, I did what everyone did. I had super low trucks and teeny tiny wheels. I think at one point I was even scaling like 35 or 38 mil. Now, that was stupid. I didn't need to do that. I don't know why everyone thought we did. It didn't help. For this, I'm using my regular freestyle board. 55mm wheels from Seismic, film trucks which are relatively tall, 6mm risers. So this is a fairly tall setup. To be honest, this pressure flip's as good as, if not better, than the setups I had back then. The one thing you do need is trucks that will offer some resistance. These aren't rock solid. I hate super tight trucks. These will turn. Not much, but they will. But if you've got a floppy truck, something super loose, you're going to struggle to do this trick. You need something that will resist the first part of that push. Something you can really push into. If the truck just flops around, it's going to make this way harder than it needs to be. That's why you've really got to dig in with that back foot. Oh, that was fun. Let's do that again. Cheeky. So there you go, pressure flips. Easy as that. If you are still struggling, if there's something you think I missed in the video, please first, before you do anything else, check the website. There's a link in the description down below. On there, there's a sequence, taken stills from this, so you can see the trick bit by bit. And I can go into more detail there, because if I went into that level of detail on the video, this thing would be huge, no one would watch it. If that still doesn't help, if there's something you think I'm missing, please leave me a comment, let me know. Let me see. I want to try and help people out more than anything. So if you are struggling, just get in touch. Now, I also normally wouldn't do this bit, this fluff. Not really interested in this bit, but I feel like I should make a change. Actually do it here because I wanted to apologize. I've not done anything like as many trick tips as I would like this year. I've been away, I've been doing stage shows, been on the road, and it has eaten up way more time than I thought. I've been on the road for like 6 weeks. I was at home for 4 days in that block. It's just not enough time to film these. But now I'm back home, I'm going to try and get a load done. So if there's anything you want to see, again, leave me a comment. I'm always happy to try and teach you a trick that you want to learn. And if I can't do it, I will try and find someone who can. The other thing I want to say is that I'm not just doing the shows on the road. I'm also running my own website and web shop. Offset Skate Supply. I'm selling loads of different freestyle gear. So if there's anything you need, skid plates, wheels, decks, trucks, whatever, please head to offsetskatesupply.co.uk and let me get you on a freestyle board. That's what I want more than anything. I want to see more people doing these tricks. I want to see more people on dedicated freestyle boards because the difference it makes to your skating is huge. If I'm not already shipping to your country, let me know, I will sort it out. It doesn't matter where you are. I want to get you on a freestyle board. So whether you are in England, America, Canada, Japan, Romania, out in Mongolia, I will try and find the cheapest way of getting a board to you, and that is a promise. But anyway, it is getting dark here. I haven't had any dinner. So yeah, hope the trick tip helped, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.